This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Caregiver Question of the Week. Today, we have a really great follow-up question to answer. This is a follow-up to a question that I answered 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe. It was about Parkinson's disease and exercise and whether or not exercise is good for Parkinson's disease. So that was a great question and hopefully a helpful answer. If you have not seen that yet, you can always check out all of the recordings for Caregiver Question of the Week. The best way to find them is on the Higher Standards Caregiver Training YouTube page. The handle for that is at Higher Standards Caregiver on YouTube. So search that up and you will be able to find the recording of that answer to that Caregiver Question of the Week if it's something that you need or that interests you there. Today, though, we're going to be talking about a follow-up question related to nutrition and Parkinson's disease and how nutrition affects Parkinson's disease. So I am certainly not a subject matter expert on that. So I have got here with me the wonderful Crystal Fossmeyer. She is a registered dietitian with 25 years of experience working in lots of settings with lots of different populations. She's been in hospitals, she's been in long-term care, she's been in home health, you name it, folks. And so Crystal is very, very graciously sharing her time with us on this Caregiver Question of the Week to share her knowledge in that area. But first, my name's Emilia. I'm an occupational therapist, and this is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for health or medical advice, and it is not a substitute for a therapeutic relationship. So if you hear us talking about anything that makes you think that you or someone you know, someone you work with, someone you care about needs to talk to their personal licensed healthcare provider, then please make sure that either you are doing that or that you're advocating for them to do that. As I said, this is not a substitute for that kind of personal relationship. This is really and truly for educational purposes only. Okay, Crystal, with that, I'm going to let you take it away. Nutrition and Parkinson's disease. What is the deal?
Well, thank you, Emilia. So I'm a dietitian, like she said, for over 25 years, and I've worked in a lot of different settings, coming across many different kinds of disease states, but Parkinson's is a little bit different. It's slow to progress, and there's quite a bit of signs that may show up before Parkinson's is diagnosed, and that person may already have other disease states that they are suffering from. So they may have heart issues, they may have other things that they're suffering from. So I just wanted to go over the importance of nutrition for someone with Parkinson's. Nutrition definitely won't cure Parkinson's disease. In some research, different foods may slow its progression, but nutrition is still important to think about for anybody. There are certain symptoms that you may run across when you have Parkinson's disease. You may be dealing with, as a caregiver, with someone in your home that is showing some of these signs already, or maybe you haven't seen these signs at all. Not every patient will have these, but some of these are really common. So I'm going to read some of the most common concerns that we may have with Parkinson's, and a lot of them are related to nutrition and can be alleviated with that. So one of them is bone thinning. Studies have shown that people with Parkinson's have increased risk for bone thinning. And someone that is aging already has an issue, maybe anyway, with signs of osteoporosis. So As Parkinson's advances, it can also lead to the likelihood of falls. So that could lead to someone breaking bones or fractures. So it's very important to keep up with different kinds of things that would strengthen calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K. You can get those from foods and you can get those from supplements, but it's always best to ask your doctor what is important to them for that, for bone strengthening. And also, like you said, you were talking about exercising. So, weight bearing exercise, such as walking, would be something that would be good to help keep the bones strong. So, if there's someone that is able to keep walking and to do weight bearing exercise, then that is good to do as well. Another thing is dehydration. So, there's dehydration is complex. So it could be caused by medications that the patient is taking. It could be caused by someone just not drinking enough, period. As a dietitian, it's really hard for me to drink 2 liters a day. And I'll be honest, I don't get that. So I try to get fluids in other ways. Um, and with someone with Parkinson's, it's really important for them to have more hydration because one of the other symptoms or side effects is bowel impaction or constipation. With the many movements and lots of issues that Parkinson's patients have, their gut also slows down. So that movement of food through there may cause constipation. And somewhere I read where up to 80% of patients with Parkinson's will have constipation. So the other one is
Little
oh, go
little
ahead.
little extra hint here. I have a there's a 3-part series talking about constipation and Parkinson's disease on the Higher Standards Caregiver Training YouTube channel, guys. So make sure that you check it out. We do talk about that movement in the bowel called peristalsis. Fun with peristalsis, as well as some other issues. So if constipation is something that you are dealing with, that's helpful information to arm yourself with as you are having a conversation with your doctor. So make sure you check that out. Okay, sorry. Take it
No,
away,
you're
Crystal.
fine. And dehydration can cause a number of things. It can lead to confusion, someone being weak, someone having balance problems, kidney failure, UTIs, so urinary tract infections. And most of the times when I would see patients that would have any elderly patient, and on top of that, if they have Parkinson's, lack of water leading to confusion, falling, and also having bone thinning is a problem. So you could try to alleviate that with drinking more water, offering more water. You can also get more water or through foods. So right now is a great time to go to the market, outside markets, the farm markets, watermelon, different fruits, fresh fruits, and then you can also get things that are canned that have water content in them as well, and popsicles. So that's another one that you can get. There are fruit popsicles as well that are better for you, but any kind of food that has more water content in it is better. Berries, those are a good thing to put in your diet as well. So constipation, going back to that, sometimes it gets as bad as having someone with bowel impaction where they require hospitalization or even surgery. So we try to prevent that before it happens. So the exercise, like you were talking about, and then also getting more fiber in your diet. So, whole grains, anything with fiber, fruits and vegetables, anything with that skin on it that you can have. That is also good to put in your diet. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of whole grain products that you can have out there, including cereals. It's a good one because you're putting milk with that, so it adds more hydration. There's also whole grain breads and then the fruits, like I had said. So, another problem could be unplanned weight loss. So,
That is huge. I feel like
yes,
that and constipation are the thing, like those are two like big buckets of problems that I
right.
have often seen in my own practice when I get called in to work with someone with Parkinson's disease.
And it's very interesting. I was reading some articles about one of the symptoms of Parkinson's, and sometimes it comes years before someone is diagnosed, is loss of smell. And during the COVID
I
time,
didn't know that.
yes, loss
That's
of smell.
what?
So
Okay.
that really affects your eating because we see with all of our, we eat with all of our senses. So especially with smell. And now if someone, during the time that there was COVID, there was a lot of people that had loss of smell, and that
Uh-huh.
really affects the way that you look at food and nutrition. So that is one of the things that I did see in the research. So with loss of smell, you need to make sure there are other things that you can do to make something look appetizing. You can make sure that you're making it look pleasing to the eye. Lots of colors, different kinds of fresh fruits and vegetables, any spices that you could add, um, anything that would, because as we age, we kind of lose that sense of taste as well. So
Mhm.
anything that you can add fresh herbs and vegetables or spiciness to make it a little bit more spicy. And also, as we age, we tend to want sweets a little bit more. So this is not the time to, um, we need to liberalize the diet at this time. So if they want ice cream in the middle of the day, or they want salsa, anything that's spicy or sweet or anything like that, then that is something that you need to provide for someone. And a lot of
So like now's not the time for calorie counting.
right,
Basically, now is
no, it's
like
not.
calorie. As I say often in my house with my children, calories in the body. We just want calories in the body because
Yes,
it does take it often people with Parkinson's disease, and I think that you had mentioned this before, at least in conversation with me, that people with Parkinson's disease will actually burn more calories eating
right.
because it takes them more effort, and they have sometimes extra movement through those tremors or through the extra effort. They'll actually burn more calories eating. And so we have to make sure that there's more calories going in that are being spent during the eating
Right.
process.
So you want to make sure that, if they get exhausted during mealtime, you want to try to pack as many calories in something that they're eating as possible. And you may want to spread out the meals during the day. So with anyone with unplanned weight loss or weight loss at all, I always try to get with them and find out their most favorite foods, what they want to eat, the best times of the day. Sometimes people don't eat breakfast at all, or sometimes people get up at 5 a.m. and eat breakfast. Usually, with the elderly, when I'm talking with them, and Parkinson's affects everyone at different ages, but especially with the elderly, sometimes they'll eat early in the morning, they'll skip lunch, and then they'll eat a big, a larger dinner. So if they're used to doing that, instead of having three large meals, you want to make sure you spread them out, and then you could try to get as many high calorie foods in as possible. For example, with mashed potatoes, you can put protein powder in that. You can put more gravy. You can also put more seasonings in there, and then butter. So that's a very important thing. Shakes. You can even get over the counter shakes like Ensure or Boost, or you can make your own homemade shakes. Now, if you make them at home, you can also include things like yogurt, which provides more calcium and calories. You can also put in more fiber in there so that you can put bananas, and that adds more vitamins and minerals in there. Protein powder, peanut butter. Peanut butter is another big thing that you can add more calories to things that you can get. And with the protein powder, you can buy that over the counter anywhere. You can sneak that in a lot of foods so that someone has extra calories. Yes, and they burn more calories because they move more. So a lot of times too, it's hard and it takes a lot of energy for them to get something to their mouth. So as they're eating, maybe if they're eating peas or something, a lot of them fall off the spoon. So there are different kinds of things that you can ask your doctor about for maybe a different kind of professional to get involved. You may be speaking with an occupational therapist with different things that would help them drink better, or a divided plate, or individual bowls. Sometimes when you're looking at a big plate with lots of things on it, it's really hard it's overwhelming to get all of that down. So you may want to give them something that's individual bowls so it's easier to eat. but it does take a lot of calories, so that is good to start ahead of time before someone starts losing weight. Another side effect would be dysphagia. So that is someone that has trouble swallowing. There are different things that you can do for that. And I wanted to, Emilia, at the end, give you a link to post of someone that may be needing like a puree diet or a mechanical soft that's a little bit more cut up. There's a great cookbook that was just put out and it can be purchased on Amazon. I did not do it, but that is something that you can fix dysphagia meals at home. So if someone has some swallowing issues, it's mostly because everything is slowing down inside of the body and it's getting a little bit more difficult to digest. And also, sometimes with Parkinson's, you have more saliva and drooling. So you may have issues with more increased risk for choking or not able to eat, big pieces of meat. So think about also soft foods, scrambled eggs, cream soups, shakes, um, applesauce, anything that you could try to put as many calories in as you can, but also think about something that may be a little bit softer to eat. Some of the
Yeah.
other common side effects. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that you that's a great time to sort of highlight the benefits of working with an interdisciplinary team. Um, Whether you are someone who has Parkinson's or you're a caregiver for someone with Parkinson's, speaking with your doctor, seeing what can be done from the medical side for things like appetite, but also, making sure that you're working with an occupational therapist to make it as easy as possible for the person to actually get the nutrition from the plate to their mouths, working with a speech therapist to identify what is a safe diet. Does this person have swallowing problems? What is the recommended diet for them? And of course, working with a registered dietitian to think about, okay, so if this is if this is the texture that we need and this is how we're going to do it, what kinds of foods can we use that will maximize both the calories that are coming into the diet, but also the pleasure of this person in actually eating, because eating is not just something that we do to survive. It's something that we do as a pleasurable activity, and we want to keep it a pleasurable activity for people as long as possible. And I think just everything that you said really kind of summed it up so nicely about how ultimately, getting access to all those people and having them work together as a whole can have such a positive impact on people, both in their health outcomes, but also their quality of life.
And there have been some studies with different kinds of diets, like the Mediterranean diet that you could try that has more good fats in it. And it also is good for brain health. It may or may not slow the progression, but it is good to continue to have those kinds of foods. So, good fats will also give them more calories. So, good fats would be olive oils. You can cook with those. You can also, instead of steaming vegetables, you could, take some fresh vegetables like zucchini or squash and put some olive oil in those, and then you could put some seasonings on those and then cook it that way. Avocado is a very good one, and you can mix that in lots of different kinds of foods for that. And then omega threes. So those would actually be more foods along the lines of fish. So if someone likes to eat fish, like salmon, this is a good time, and it's also a food that's softer, so that you can try to get that in. You definitely can get those with supplements, but a patient with Parkinson's may already be taking lots of medications, so it's better to try to get in more real food. So, speaking about medications, there are side effects with that. Again, I'm not a doctor and not an expert, but medications could cause nausea, appetite loss, and then that could be followed by weight loss. And we already talked about how to bulk up that. Fluid retention, and also sometimes it could cause weight gain. There is one particular medication that I've read about called levodopa, and it's one of the most important medications used to treat Parkinson's. It's also called Cinnamate. And just in looking at the recommendations, in order for that medication to be absorbed properly, it's best to not have that with protein. So if you're going to not have that with protein, it would best be taken an hour before or an hour after you have a meal, because it will affect. There needs to be absorption in the small intestines, and that kind of interacts with that levodopa. So that is something that you may want to ask your doctor about, because that's one of the common things that people with Parkinson's have.
And please do make sure this goes for anyone, whether regardless of your whatever health or medical condition you may have going on. Please make sure always talk with your doctor if you have questions or concerns about medications. Your pharmacist is also a really great resource to talk about these things with. Never make changes to your medications, either starting or stopping, including over-the-counter supplements, without please first speaking with your healthcare provider. And in the case of someone with Parkinson's, that medication dosage is so important to the functioning, that anytime, if you're thinking, if this brought something up for you and you're thinking like, oh, I wonder if I need to do XYZ, please have a conversation with the healthcare provider about that, to make sure that it is going to be something that works for you or the person that you're caring for. Crystal, I think we're about to wrap up here. Is there anything else that you want to add? You have there's a mind-blowing amount of knowledge. I feel like we could all spend the next several months probably like looking up some of the things that you have brought up. Is there anything else that you wanna add to the conversation?
You could reach out, make sure to reach out to your doctor, and also ask um, ahead of time if there is someone that you can meet with as a dietitian to talk a little bit more about nutrition. Um, and then some of the things that are really important to think about would be hydration. I would think I would really hit on that one and make sure a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, and then more calories. So I think calories and dehydration and weight loss is really important with someone with Parkinson's. Um, and if anybody has any questions, I can provide my contact information if you would like to contact me and talk about it. But by far, I would definitely ask your doctor about any symptoms ahead of time.
And definitely, if you have more questions for Caregiver Question of the Week, whether it's related to this topic or other things, or maybe this made you think of something else, there are a couple ways that you can ask. One, you can simply tag me in the comments, so I make sure to see your question. I'm also going to post a link along with this video where you can submit questions privately. And if you want to ask a question of Crystal that way too, you absolutely can, and I will make sure that it gets to her. So you have the opportunity to ask without, necessarily putting it all over the internet. Sometimes whatever floats your boat, right? But if you want to keep it private, then I want to help you keep it private, to get your question answered. So those are a couple ways that you can ask some more questions too. One more quick note before we wrap up, just to highlight something Crystal said about hydration. Yes, incredibly important. Do keep in mind that some folks are not some folks maybe with heart conditions or other things may be on what we call a fluid restriction. That's something to talk with your doctor about, and make sure, again, when you're talking about these issues with nutrition, when you're talking about these issues with medication, and definitely when you're talking about issues with hydration, make sure, ask your doctor if there's any reason to, limit the amount of fluid being consumed. How much fluid is right for either yourself, if you're talking about yourself, or the person you're caring for, to safely consume every day. Because folks with Parkinson's disease can, of course, have other things going on too. So we want to just make sure that we're really having, again, this all goes back to have conversations with your healthcare providers. Make sure that you are working with the whole team of people that are there to help you make sure that you have the best possible life, the best possible quality of life, and of course, the best possible health outcome. But most importantly, I think the best quality of life. Yeah? Yeah, Crystal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's really the goal. That's really the goal, right? Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this week's Caregiver Question of the Week. I hope that you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you have questions, post them in the comments. Please make sure to tag me so that I get a notification specifically to check that question. You can also submit your questions via the private form that I'm going to go ahead and post the link to along with this video. And other than that, guys, I think we're done. Thanks for watching. Until next time, please stay healthy, stay well, and most of all, take care. Bye.